Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Caps Hockey Review back with you on a bit of an emergency basis. I did not plan on making a video today, but recent happenings have dictated that I need to. So, first, big news just about an hour ago. The Washington Capitals and Alex Ovechkin have finally gotten that deal done. Alex Ovechkin will be a Washington Capital for another 5 years at that same $9.5 million average annual value. For anybody at home, the total value of the contract is $47.5 million. Great news. Great news. The greatest thing that has ever happened to the Washington Capitals franchise, the greatest player, holds damn near every record there is to hold for a Washington Capital. The grade 8 is going to stay in DC. There wasn't much doubt, but doubt's starting to creep in. Free agency's only a day away, and we got a little reassurance. McClellan came out late last week and said he fully expected to get a deal done with Ovechkin before Wednesday. That has come true. So, what does this extension mean for the Caps? Well, I guess for now it means the Stanley Cup window is still open. It's open for another 5 years. I've said this for a while now. The window for the Caps stays open as long as Backstrom and Ovechkin are in DC. So, we got 5 more years here. Now, on top of chance to win, more Stanley Cups, which of course we as Caps fans want to see. We want to see as many as we possibly can before the dark days of the post Backstrom Ovechkin era come around. We're going to see Alex Ovechkin get a real chance to chase Gretzky's goal record. There's been speculation, there's been, will he stay in the NHL long enough to do it? Well, 5 years is long enough for him to do it. He's under 200 away. I believe he's at about 160 or so away. So, at his current pace, 45 to 50 goals a year. Current pace, that puts him at about 4 years away. 3 and change. So, a little extra time in there. I don't know if this record even played into the decision for Ovechkin as far as term goes. Maybe it did, maybe it didn't. Who knows? But the point is, we're going to get to see him chase this record. We're going to see the race for him to get to 895. Now, moving on. We saw a trade as well on Monday night. Brendan Dillon traded to the Winnipeg Jets for 2 second-round picks, one in 2022, the other in 2023. So the Caps are accumulating picks. That is good news. You're getting a chance to kind of, maybe stock the cupboard a little bit before this ride with Ovechkin runs out. So you free up some cap space, just about $4 million. You get some picks back in return. That's huge. We've seen this offseason already, teams giving up disgusting amounts just to get some cap space. We saw the Flyers trade Shane Gostisbehere, a 7th and a 2nd, just for cap space. They got nothing in return, technically. So, for Brian McClellan to get 2 picks back for Brendan Dillon, I would argue that Brendan Dillon is at a much better point in his career right now than Gostisbehere. But great job by McClellan to get a very beneficial deal done for the Caps trade-wise. Now, it'll be a little bit of a shorter video. There's not a ton to discuss, but one more thing I want to hit on. The discussion of a backup goalie. Like we've talked about, Craig Anderson's probably not coming back. We got a couple of young guys, but they're probably not ready for the NHL. Some interesting options have come to I guess, materialize here in the last day or so, with the Vancouver Canucks buying out Braden Holtby and the San Jose Sharks buying out Martin Jones. So what this means is that their salary will be paid still by their former teams. So this makes them unrestricted free agents. So with the money they're still making from Holtby from the Canucks, Jones from the Sharks, they may well sign with a team for a very team-friendly deal for $1 million a year or 1.5 per year. One of these two could be very viable options for the Caps for a number 2 spot. Of course, all of us as Caps fans, myself as a Caps fan, I would love to see Braden Holtby come back, be in that backup role. He'd be a great mentor for Samsonov. Of course, Braden Holtby has also been linked to the Flyers. Again, another similar situation for the Flyers. They have a young goalie over there. Holtby is an ideal mentor. He's been around the block. He's got, he's tied with Martin Brodeur for most wins in an NHL season with 48. He's won a Stanley Cup. He's won a Vezina Trophy. He's won a Jennings Trophy. The man's been around, okay? He may not be what he used to be, but I would sit here and say his season he just had in Vancouver is not a fair assessment of his skill at this point, because that Vancouver Canucks defense was absolute garbage on a good day this past year. The lack of help he had over there was just disturbing. I would imagine he will do much better in the net wherever else he goes. I would imagine he is looking for a contender to sign with. Both the Flyers and Caps fit that bill. I would imagine the Caps are going to make an offer. The ball will be in Holtby's court. Of course, he will probably have... It's rumored that as many as 7 or 8 teams are interested in him. So I think Braden Holtby will have plenty of options, but I would like to see him sign with the Caps. Now, if that doesn't pan out, which it may well not, Martin Jones also a solid option. He won a Stanley Cup in LA, of course, as a backup to Jonathan Quick, but still has some valuable experience. He's had, kind of a struggle in San Jose the last few years. Still a fairly young guy, but, a little older than Samsonov, so a little more experience. So another mentor, type potential here. Many have argued that he just needs a change of scenery. Things in San Jose are not nearly as good as they were, say 5-6 years ago. And really, we see goalies become a product of the team in front of them. Goalies that are behind good teams generally have much better numbers than goalies who are behind bad teams. Of course, there are anomalies to this. You can look at Dominic Hasek and his time with the Sabres, but we're not here to rehash history. The point is, there are some very interesting number 2 goalie candidates emerging. Free agency opening tomorrow. This will be something to keep an eye on as well. I would expect if the Caps are going to sign a goalie, it will get done fairly quickly. So that's what I'll be kind of keeping an eye on. One more thing before I leave you all. The trade potential for Evgeny Kuznetsov seems to have gone way down. As I've discussed before, we saw just after the playoffs, Brian McClellan discuss we need Kuznetsov to be at his best every night, and if he can't do that, then we need to move on, is the gist of what he said. I am not quoting word for word, but that is the general idea. Now, we saw him reinforce this just before the expansion draft, calling the likelihood of a Kuznetsov trade quote-unquote high. Now, this just a couple days ago, he's come out and said, well, I never said I was going to trade Kuznetsov. Okay, fair enough. He never explicitly said Kuznetsov is on the block. We're going to move him before next season. But there's enough context clues there to know that he was actively testing the market for Kuznetsov, seeing what he could get in return. My guess for this sudden change in heart is maybe him and Kuznetsov had a meeting, maybe him, Kuznetsov, and Laviolette all had a meeting, something behind the scenes that restored his confidence or his trust in Kuznetsov a little bit. Or he's been testing the market on Kuznetsov and finding that the market is not nearly what he'd like to get in return. This is very possible. We've seen Kuznetsov's production decline over the last 3-ish years. So for a player with a high cap hit, declining production. That's not really very appealing in general, let alone in an era where we're looking at a flat salary cap and teams are scrambling just to open up cap space. So either one of these two, but sounds, for at least for right now, like Kuznetsov is not a prime trade candidate. Maybe that changes, maybe it doesn't, but we won't dwell on that right now. It is a good news day for the Washington Capitals. Hoping for a good news day tomorrow with the opening of free agency. But Alex Ovechkin, the captain, the grade 8, the greatest goal scorer in Caps franchise history, possibly of NHL history, will remain a Capital for the remainder of his NHL career. Great day for the Capitals. I'll be back with you following free agency, but for right now, very excited to have Alex Ovechkin back in the fold.